Believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in a living color here with you, Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we do battle. Yes, the two most infamous and iconic zombie movies of the year 1985 are thrown into the octagon, are thrown into the squared circle, are thrown into the graveyard of Grande because tonight, for one night only, George A. Romero's darkest day in horror the world had ever known, Day of the Dead, takes on Dan O'Bannon's film, The Return of the Living Dead. Yes, two absolute zombie classics, two 10 out of 10s. I could say that right off the bat. These are two perfect films, in my humble opinion. They will do battle here tonight. We have 7 categories and absolutely zero regrets tonight on Grande's Graveyard. I am super excited to put these two movies against one another because while I love both and while I think both are perfect, there's always got to be a movie that you like more. So we are going to do battle tonight here on the show. I'm super excited for this. Also, tomorrow, I will be traveling to the Monroeville Mall for the Living Dead weekend. So I will do a HorrorCon weekend sort of preview before I leave the air here tonight. So we'll do the main topic, meat and potatoes first. But for dessert, we do have some desserts tonight. I will preview the Living Dead weekend that I'll be at. If you guys are going, if any of you are going, let me know. I will be there chilling like a villain, getting all sorts of autographs and things signed. I'll show you guys what I'm going to have signed, who I'd like to meet, the whole schedule, the whole fucking 9 yards, the whole damn thing, to quote all Quint. So I'm super excited tonight. We have a bunch of people here. Ciao, Grande and friends. Miss C is here. Stealing Mateo's catchphrase. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, good evening, John. Hello, everyone. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. Sean, welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Slasher Fred, like they said in the song in Return of the Living Dead, it's party time. Hell yeah. A little 45 grave music is one of the categories tonight, so I'm looking forward to that one. AJ's Happy Fun Time channel. Last week, he was here chilling like a villain on the Horror Roundtable numero 5. I had a lot of fun with AJ Mernsey and, of course, Jake. Top-notch dead people on both. Dude, absolutely. This is a fun battle. This is arguably the closest versus battle we've had thus far. We've done Alien and The Thing. We've done Willard versus Willard. We've done Universal Soldier versus, I think, Demolition Man. I think that was one of the episodes versus I've done. I haven't done enough versus. I think we did Joyride and Jeepers Creepers, so definitely want to keep doing these versus episodes, and this may be the closest of the battles we've had so far. And Sean Blue Digital says, tough choices with these two up against each other, but the edge goes to Return of the Living Dead for me. Well, that's the fun thing about this. We're going to go category by category because on some past shows when I've done this, I at first said one movie in my head, and then when I did it category by category, at the end I was like, holy shit, I'm going to go with the other movies. So that was the case with Joyride versus Jeepers Creepers. On paper, before on paper, it was Jeepers Creepers. Then when I put it on paper, I went, actually, it's Joyride. So that's the fun of this show. When you really do map it out and take it one notch at a time, the winning movie can even surprise me. The weekend sounds interesting. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'll show you guys the whole layout of the thing. You're in PA, I believe. I don't know if you're going, but I'm super excited to go. Labyrinth is here. Hey, going to be busy tonight. Just wanted to stop by briefly, say smash the like button. Thank you, Mr. Labyrinth. I hope all is well with you, my friend. Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande. Excited for tonight, even if I am not into zombies that much. Hi, everyone in the graveyard. Welcome, my friend. Labyrinth says, I like RLTLD a little bit better. Okay, so we have 2 votes for Return of the Living Dead before we even got this son of a bitch underway. So a little bit of the edge going to Return of the Living Dead, which I've got the shirt on too, the glow-in-the-dark Tarman shirt, which I got at the last horror convention I went to, funny enough. I'm sure tomorrow I'll be getting all good stuff, all a bunch of good things. I have got plenty money to spend and a ton of things I want to get. So I'm super excited and looking forward to that. So everybody, cheers to a safe, happy, healthy Living Dead weekend. And we're going to get this show on the road. So cheers to y'all. I know, boring, little Poland, or what is this? Pure Life. Boring. It's Mountain Dew tomorrow. I'm going to be the dumb motherfucker on the plane going, stewardess, do you have fucking Mountain Dew? I need a Mountain Dew on this motherfucker. She's going to be, no, sir, we have vodka on here. I'll say, fuck your vodka, man. I need some Code Red in my life. I got a Code Red on a Code Red. That's what we need. But cheers, everybody. All right, let's get this bitch on the road. We'll get our screen share going, and we're going to take this category by category. And, of course, I always started off with a fun one because life is too short. Life is too boring. And we're going to start this son of a bitch off. Day of the Dead versus the Return of the Living Dead. I tried for all of these to do oh, sorry. I tried for all these to do, one movie on one side, one movie on the other side. Some of them I did top to bottom. So I tried to have Day of the Dead on the left. It was Return of the Living Dead on the right. And then Day of the Dead on the top, Return of the Living Dead on the bottom as we go through this whole PowerPoint of picture display. So we're going to get this show on the road with one sheet versus one sheet. Yes. Right off the bat, I think this is a really hard one because I love both these one sheets. I do have a reprint of the Day of the Dead one. It's hard to see because actually I had to put up my VHS rack somewhere and it covers half of the damn thing. So that's a damn shame because I do love this poster and I can go into it now. Of course, I think the smartest thing they did was refer to the other two movies, right? When you make two classic movies and then you're making the third one, I love that on the actual poster to the third one, it's referring to those other two movies, of course, with first there was Night of the Living Dead. And of course, you have the moon with the black background, which goes with that movie. Then there was Dawn of the Dead, which of course you have the bright purple and then the orange and kind of exactly what Dawn of the Dead is. It took Night of the Living Dead out of the 1960s into the 1970s, and you brought the Technicolor aspect to things. And you brought, the Crayola colored blood from Tom Savini that you could literally taste. The practical blood squibs, of the zombies when they got shot in the head. And then, of course, building to the third movie and now the darkest day of horror the world has ever known, George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. And I love that. I think that's just such an awesome idea for a poster. I just think, from top to bottom, it's just such a unique, interesting poster. Like you never saw a Star Wars do anything like that or any other famous trilogy, like referring to the first two movies. And then now it's this. Like I always thought that was a really brilliant marketing campaign. I will say if I have any knocks on this poster, I don't like this main zombie guy here. He's not in the movie. I don't really, I would have just had it be Bub and perfect example of that, which I like almost better is the DVD cover art. This was back when Anchor Bay released this of just Bub and the zombies. And then, of course, the bright sun, Day of the Dead, red text, yellow and red, little Hulk Hogan colors for you, brother. I love this cover art, too, the Anchor Bay. This is, of course, old Divimax. And you can see right here, the DA for horror. I actually got this from a Hollywood Video that was closing down years and years and years ago. This was the 2-disc special edition, and I kept that on there because I was like, this is so cool. It's like a relic now that all of these fucking, video stores are all closed down now, at least for the most part. But I just always loved the design on this. I thought Anchor Bay did a great job. Anchor Bay back in the day, I mean, there was no beating Anchor Bay. I just loved their stuff. And then, of course, you have the Return of the Living Dead poster, which I think is just as classic. Now I have this, of course, this 4K here that I'm ashamed to say Shout Factory put it out, and I did dip on this, so I'm ashamed to say I support them because I don't know, I'm not a big fan of them. But the old school MGM cover art, I don't think you can fucking beat this, man. There are a few cover arts I like more than this, and this is a one sheet I've always wanted to get. It's not uber expensive. I believe you get 500-600 bones. You can probably find this, but it's one that's eluded me for years. If I ever saw it for a reasonable price, like 500-600, I would fucking buy it. I would totally get this because I always thought this was just amazing fucking cover art. Of course, the punk rock zombies, this guy over here spray painting the tombstone and the living dead in the background. I always thought that was just amazing cover art. And it signifies exactly what this movie is, which is punk rock zombies, basically. Of course, you have a zombie with a mohawk, and then instead of the skinny chest, you have the rib cage and all that. And then, of course, this lady with the big yets. I know AJ saying big yets, big zombie yets. Looks like she's got her hair electrocuted and all that. Just the old school classic MGM cover art. I believe the original one sheet also, it has like on the sides, it looks like a tombstone. Like it looks like sand skirt on the sides. It's very interesting design. But if I had to pick here, if I had to pick one sheet versus one sheet, we're going to give the first point of this to the Return of the Living Dead. I absolutely love this one sheet. I just think it's iconic. I think it's classic. I really, really, really like this one sheet cover art. I always have, always will. And it's no disrespect to Romero's Day, because I think they're both really, really nice when it comes to one sheet poster art. And I would think both of these would sell like hotcakes. And fortunately for Day of the Dead and domestic wise, it really didn't. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that as we move on. But let's go back into comments. I think we were here. I think that Return of the Living Dead is a spoof of Night of Living Dead. Really? I don't know. It definitely has humor. But spoof, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far in saying that. The day one sheet is cleaner. Okay, so we got to vote for the day one sheet. Return big zombie hits. Well, we do love big zombie hits. It's a battle royal of horror Dusty Rhodes representing Day of the Dead versus Ric Flair representing for the Return of the Living Dead. Woo! Let me tell you something. Day of the Dead, baby. George A. Romero, he's gonna make night, he's gonna make dawn, and he's gonna make the Day of the Dead, if you will, Cody. And Ric Flair, woo! The style and profile and kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing zombies all over the graveyard. It's pouring acid rain. Woo! And Lorraine Quigley is dancing all night. I would absolutely love to see those two do a battle on which one of these movies are better. That would be amazing. The slipcover for ROTLD 4K is gone now and went surprisingly fast. Really? Yo, I would sell this. How much? Sean, let me know how much. I'll fucking sell it, no doubt. Just woke up in time for the first category. You scrunching the water bottle reminds me of Richard Dreyfuss scrunching the styrofoam. Yeah. It's actually, I didn't even mean to scrunch it. It's just I don't know. I was just drinking. I didn't mean to scrunch. But James, welcome, my friend. James Abernathy's here. Excellent. Dude, yes, the 4K transfer looked amazing. Just shared out the stream. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. That's very, very kind of you. Missy totally set you up, Johnny. Hey, man, any excuse I have to do a Dusty or a Ric Flair impression, why the fuck not? Return of the Living Dead has the word graveyard in it, so you got exactly. Yeah, that's why. Return of the Living Dead. We got to go for. Yeah, I agree. I think the poster for ROTLD wins this one, and it's again not to say I have the Day of the Dead fucking poster. I have it right there. So it's not to say I don't love that fucking poster too. I actually adore it, but I don't know. It's just something about that old school MGM. Like it's just, I don't know. I like it a little bit more. It's a little bit more 1980s. And it's the same thing with the movie, right? The movie's a little bit more 1980s. It's definitely feels more 1980s than Day of the Dead. But let's move on here. Let's move into our next category. As of course, Return of the Living Dead takes a 1-0 lead. And we move on into writer-director versus writer-director in the red corner. Standing in at 6 feet, really tall. He is the creator, the godfather of the zombie. He directed Creepshow. He directed Martin. He directed the all-time greatest movie, Dawn of the Dead. He is George A. Romero. What does the A stand for? A fucking genius. Yes, George A. Romero in the red corner and in the blue corner. Standing in at probably 5'8", weighing in at 170 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal of T-bone steaks and chocolate cakes. He is the one, the only Mr. Dan O'Bannon, the writer of course, movies like Alien, the writers of movies like, Dead and Buried, although he was a collaborator more on that. Of course, Life Force, Dan O'Bannon, Dark Star. He's worked with some of the best. He's worked with Hooper. He's worked with Carpenter. He's worked with, a bunch of who's who when it comes to the horror movie genre. And we pit these two against each other, and man, this is quite a battle because this isn't just a case of director versus director. This is writer-director versus writer-director. Both of these guys wrote and directed their own visions respectively, and that's what makes this a very interesting category. On the past Grande's Graveyard versus shows, I've done it director versus director, and then writer versus writer. Here, we do writer-director versus writer-director because both of these guys were the creative. Both of these guys were the directors on their respective films. So this is a very deep category because you're pitting up against two guys that, in my opinion, were part of some of the best horror movies that ever were made. Dan O'Bannon wrote Alien. I mean, does it get much better than Alien? George Romero wrote Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Martin, The Crazies, Creepshow. Well, he didn't write Creepshow, but, creative mind. And this guy who was a young up-and-coming, filmmaker / editor in Pittsburgh who came from nothing and turned himself into arguably the biggest name in horror's history with all these low-budget films and all these homemade pictures, which I always say that's the beauty of Romero, was the homemade feel, right? He made all these movies in this certain period of time from 1968 to 1985, around 88 with Monkey Shines, where he would cast local theater actors to be in his films. And it gives a lot of his films sort of a play presence, right? Day of the Dead to me ultimately feels like a stage play. And that's a big reason why I love it. The direction from Romero and that homemade feel is something that he would deliver time and time again over the first few films that he would make. Of course, later in his career, when he migrated to Canada, that's when those films stopped having that homemade feel and stopped tasting the same. But Romero, in terms of a director, I think the guy was great. I think even more so as an editor. Romero, I think, is the greatest editor of all time. He never gets the credit for how great of an editor he was, man. You watch how fucking tightly together he edited his films. Like, I just watched Season of the Witch, which is Romero's like his third film from 1972. That son of a bitch is quick editing, quick pace, quick cuts. Very interesting editing style and very interesting kind of experimental filmmaking from Romero. But all of his films, man, he's just great with the editing. I love up until he stopped editing with Creepshow. I mean, the guy was just one of the best, in my opinion, the greatest editor to ever live. But as a writing talent, who could understate all the great Romero stories that were told, right? Of course, the whole idea of us versus them and us versus us and Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and, of course, Day of the Dead, where we have the scientists taking on the military crew, and of course the Joe Pilato talking about martial law and talking about the Napoleon complex, and then of course your Richard Liberties talking about a way to make them to behave, make them controlled, change the ideal of wanting these zombies wanting to eat us, and of course changing everything on its head, and instead trying to make them obey us and trick them into being the good little boys and girls that we've all were tricked into being, as youth. I thought that idea of a writer was good. But then you look at Dan O'Bannon, man, and as a writer, the guy was fucking golden, man. Golden. You look at Alien, you look at Dead and Buried, you look at Life Force. These are some really great horror movies. And then I think you look at Return of the Living Dead on paper, what a brilliant, innovative movie that it was. Because at the time, he had to come to the plate and say, I have to do everything opposite Romero. Romero's films are a little bit more serious. They have a political message. They have a social message. I can't do any of that. I have to come and bring something completely new to the table. And he came and hit a fucking home run with it. Instead of having the zombies that you shoot them in the brain, they just made that up in the movies, kid. They made it up in the movies of James Cameron talking to Tom Matthews. I love that scene. That's just from the movies. That's not really how it's done. What you got to do is you got to burn them. And of course, they burn the corpse and the smoke goes up into the sky, and then it pours down acid rain on the graveyard where all the return of living dead occurs, and they come back to party, eat brains, and this is the movie Return of the Living Dead that introduced the whole concept of brains, the brain zombies that wanted to eat brains instead of being shot in the brain to be killed. The talking zombies, the punk rock zombies, if you will. That was all Dan O'Bannon's creative. And I think that it was a really interesting take on the genre at this time, because if you look at this time, at this market, after Dawn of the Dead came out in Italy, what they did was they all were like, we got to fucking jump on this movie. And there you get your Bruno Matteis, you get your Lucio Fulcis, you get all the people that tried in Italy to replicate Romero's success in America with their own Italian zombie movies. Inadvertently, Romero gave birth to another subgenre known as the Italian zombie film, which became fucking huge in the late 1970s into the early 1980s. But at the same time, you look at what Dan O'Bannon did, he completely changed all of it. And dare I say, I don't think anyone's ever taken what Dan O'Bannon did and been able to replicate it. You look at the sequel to Return of the Living Dead, it's just basically a G-rated version of the original movie. It's very goofy, it's very slapstick. That Slasher Fred, I would say, is more of a spoof, is Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I always thought that movie was very weak. It's a G-rated version of the first one. There's no blood, there's no gore, there's no fun over the top characters. It's just kind of a blah movie. I never really got the appeal to Return of the Living Dead 2. I think it's a poor sequel. But man, it's crazy how he changed it, and no one was able to really find a way to rip off that movie. It's very interesting. I think this is a very close one on paper, but let's go to the comments because I'm neglecting y'all for far too long. I believe we were right here. People saying hi to each other. LOL, who knows how much but I ordered a copy of it for my 1K contest, and it was the only out for 3 months at the time. Slipcover was already gone. Wow, that is crazy. I know the Fright Night 4K goes for enough now, and I have that. I didn't even open that, the Steelbook. I'm going to be doing a live watch party on July 4th. Oh, hell yeah, man. Yo, I'll try to be there. That's awesome, man. I love that. So, yeah, it's inadvertently a July 4th horror movie because it takes place on July the 3rd. It's ironic that Return of the Living Dead came out same year that Freddy's Revenge did, which also stars the late Clu Gulager, may he rest in peace, and Linnea quickly appeared in part 4. Yeah, and what's crazy is these movies came out wide release less than a month apart. Day of the Dead got a limited release on July the 3rd, which is very funny because if people know this movie, it opens July the 3rd, which is fucking bizarre because Day of the Dead's initial release was July the 3rd of 1985. That is bizarre coincidence, but yeah, it had its limited release July the 3rd, then it gets its wide release July the 19th, whereas this movie gets its wide release August the 16th of the following month. And in between, you have, of course, Tom Holland's Fright Night, which grossed more than both of them in the United States. And it's wild to know that all the great horror movies that came out in 1985, some of them came out weeks within each other. Soon Reanimator would follow. I mean, you had so many. I think 1985, for what it's worth, is the greatest year in horror's history. And these two movies came out literally less than a month apart. It's wild. It's quite something. Trenchy is here. Hey, what's up? How dare you make us choose between Bub and Tarman? That is a category, Trenchy, and we are going to choose tonight between Bub and Tarman. Hope all is well with you, my friend. People say, what's up to Trenchy? Grande, if you don't choose Romero, is someone else with a Grande mask on. Well, that would be something, right? If I turned heel on George Romero, which I cannot do. I won't keep you guys in suspense anymore because I have to go with George Romero. And I will say this. Director versus director, you have to go Romero. However, writer versus writer, it's fairly close. And I know probably people roll their eyes at that. It's fine. But it is close because you look at all the stuff both of them did. You know, you can't really count Dan O'Bannon out. The fact of how creative Return of the Living Dead is alone is, to me, puts him in the conversation in the writer versus writer category. Director versus director, yeah, you have to go Romero because Romero did way more, right? Because Dan O'Bannon only directed one other film, Shatterbrain, aka it goes under another title. It's also fucking it has fucking guy from Child's Play in it, Chris Sarandon in Fright Night. He's in an early 90s movie. I only saw it once and I don't remember the film. I know he said the studio dabbled in it and he pretty much disowned the film, Dan O'Bannon. That was the only other thing he directed. So it's a shame that the studio kind of got involved with this movie, though they did not. And of course, Dan O'Bannon did a great job. But I think direction wise, it's a Romero home run. Writer versus writer, I do think it's close. But then again, I do think Romero, as smart as Dan O'Bannon was, I do think Romero was just one of the great writers of all time, man. It really, it's hard to debate. All of these movies, all of the social themes and political themes. And I'm not usually someone that likes anything like that in my horror movies, but, even inadvertently, sometimes he got stuff over like that. Like in Night of the Living Dead, I love the whole, the cellar's the safest place. And no, we need to go out there. We need to risk our lives. The whole, if we can't get along in here, we're going to die out there argument. I always thought Romero was just so ahead of his time with that. And Dawn of the Dead is my all-time favorite movie. The dialogue in Dawn of the Dead is my favorite dialogue in any movie. So, I mean, you can't go against George Romero here. I know Dan O'Bannon's great. I respect him. May he rest in peace. May both of them rest in peace. But I think you have to go Romero here easily from the director standpoint. But from the writer standpoint, I do think it's closer than most would say. Point goes to Day of the Dead's writer-director, George Romero. And just like that, we are tied at 1-1 as we move on to category number 3, cast versus cast. Yes, you have Laurie Cardell, the daughter of Chilly Billy Cardell, who hosted, of course, Chiller Theater in the 1980s and, of course, the revival in the late 1990s. Just love Laurie Cardell, beautiful lady, just a great actress as well. You have, of course, Terry Alexander, who I always thought was actually Jamaican until, of course, I actually heard him talk in real interviews where he's not actually Jamaican, but he has the best Jamaican accent of all time. Come on, Santa, we got to be soaking up some sunshine. He was great in this movie. I always loved him. And, of course, you have Jarlath Conroy as McDermott. Awesome little picture here. I just liked this picture. We, of course, have more cast, though, from Day of the Dead. I won't exclude anybody. And then, of course, down here, we have the entire cast and crew of Return of the Living Dead. Of course, you can see a young Tom Matthews right here. I'm trying to pick out people in the photo. Oh, my God. This is such a – here's Brian Peck, who in real life is a piece of shit. You have Linnea Quigley, the young Linnea Quigley right here. And is Clu Gallagher in this picture? I don't know if I see Clue in here. That's so wild. I don't see James Karen or Clue in this picture. So, I mean, it is what it is. This guy looks like fucking John Hughes right here at the bottom. Did John Hughes, imagine the plot twist, Return of the Living Dead is a fucking John Hughes movie. That would be some funny shit. But this one, I think, is really close as well. Cast versus cast. Of course, we could start up here with Romero's Day of the Dead. I mean, basically, this is a perfect example of making a lot of nothing, right? All he really had for this movie was a bunch of local Pittsburgh stage actors. That's where Laurie Cardell came from. That's where Joe Pilato came from. Of course, everyone remembers his very, very, very small role in Romero's Dawn of the Dead, where he had his scenes cut out. If you watch the US theatrical cut, the 128-minute cut, Pilato is in it for like 3 seconds. You can see, oh my God, there's Joe Pilato, but he has no lines. Of course, in the extended cuts, you can see lines from the character, which is interesting, but he got cut there. You have Joe Pilato as the great Captain Rhodes. You have Richard Liberty, who reprises, a Romero appearance where he was in The Crazies as, Lynn Lowry's Too Close for Comfort father. In that movie, he plays the legendary Dr. Frankenstein. You have Gary Clark, who plays Steel. Steel! Shoot that woman. Bang! You're dead. John Amplis is one of the, awesome fucking, scientists in the movie. You have Anthony DeLeo Jr. as Miguel, who, in my opinion, gives the most underrated performance in this movie as this guy who's breaking down from the stress of the, post-zombie world. And this guy who, was a tough soldier back in the day, but he is really crumbling to the world around him. He's just really, crumbling day by day. And you see that post-traumatic stress really, wearing this guy down and out. And it's really good performance, in my opinion. And of course, you have Howard Sherman as Bub, which we're going to get to Bub. We're going to get to Tarman. That's a big category here. So I'm not going to get into too much of Howard Sherman here. But I mean, this cast does a wonderful job, considering most of them were mostly play actors, stage actors in the local Pittsburgh area. And this is the classic case of Romero making a lot out of nothing. He didn't have these big name stars, that he would go on to try and get when he did finally get that budget, when he had The Land of the Dead. You look at Land of the Dead, you got Simon Baker, you got John Leguizamo, you got Dennis Hopper, you got Ozzy Argento, who I always love. But fucking Simon Baker didn't spell lead in a Romero film. Neither did John Leguizamo. I thought both of them did bad in that film, man. But here, I mean, Terry Alexander is just great. I just love Terry Alexander. He brings a great, great presence to this. And it's a very different kind of character from the Ken Foree character in Dawn of the Dead, where this guy's just a little bit cooler, and this guy's just trying to soak up some sunshine and chill and enjoy the rest of his life. And shut up and sit down, the great Jamaican accent. Laurie Cardell is the great, stoic lead who, wants to find a way to eradicate the problem and wants to find a way, to change things. And she's kind of in the middle of all of this chaos between the military leader Rhodes and, of course, the crazy Dr. Frankenstein, who she thinks is on her side. But, she feels that other than John Amplis, there's maybe nobody else in this facility that is not losing their mind or anything close to it. I love her. I think she does a great job. And it's so cool to see the daughter of someone who is a cameo in the original Night of the Living Dead, of course, Chili Billy Cardell, get the lead role here. I think that was really interesting. And of course, your other two Romero zombie films, you do not have a female lead. Ken Foree, the lead in Dawn, Dwayne Jones, the lead in Night of the Living Dead, respectively. Here you have a female lead, and I thought she did a wonderful job. I really liked how tough she was. I liked how gritty she was. I liked how she wasn't going to be bossed around where, thank you, sir. Fuck you, sir. I love that. I love her fucking, pushback. I think she's just a really good character. And there are scenes where she does break down and shows humanity. This is the difference between a female lead that is overpowered and a female lead that is fucking done right. Right? Because now women can't show any weakness. They're women. We can't show weakness. Fuck you. Every fucking protagonist needs to have a weakness. Superman, super fucking man, Kal-El himself flew down from fucking Krypton for Marlon Brando and fucking his mom, who I fucking forget the actress's name on top of my fucking head. Even he had a kryptonite. Enough with your horse shit mentality that women are invulnerable. Everyone's vulnerable. We're all fucking human. Even a fucking Krypton fucking alien had a kryptonite, had a weakness. This woman loved Miguel. She loved Miguel, and she starts to crack and crumble because the world is coming to shit. There's 400,000 zombies to every one motherfucking human being, and she crumbles. She's tough, but she is a fucking person at the end of the day. It pisses me off in society now. Oh, you can't hold my hand. I'm a woman. I am fucking strong and independent. Fuck you. You might be strong. You might be independent, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a fucking kryptonite. Sorry, it pisses me off. But Laurie Cardell, long story short, is how you do this fucking kind of character right. A fucking strong, tough female lead that kicks ass, takes names, but has vulnerability. Just saying. I'm just fucking saying. Let's go to comments because I got a little fucking angry at that. I just some things, man, some things. It can make it go off a little bit. It's ironic that Tom Matthews' character accidentally brings back because in Jason Lives, his character Tommy also accidentally brings back, and the movie has the guy who played the guy who killed Joey in part 5. That's right, Mark Venturini, who we'll get to in just a minute. LOL, funny coincidence with those release dates. Dude, crazy. So crazy. John might be right about 1985. Dude, 1985 is the fucking best, man. John Steele's in the house. Cool shirt. I like a nice shirt like that too. Dude, man, this is one of my faves right here of shirt wise. I mean, I love the glow in the dark Tarman. Granted, I bought it a size too big. I bought it in XL, and it looks like a nightgown on me in some ways. Like it's a little too big. So sitting down, it's okay, but like going out, I actually can't wear it out. It's just too big on me. They both have memorable lines. Trash is taking off her clothes again and choke on them. Dude, yeah, man, amazing stuff. I think that Day of the Dead kind of predicted what later happened during the time when COVID-19 began. That's an interesting point. Hey, what's up, Grande? Cheers, everybody. Little late was watching Aliens on VHS. Dude, I saw you got a VHS player, this fucking guy. Mernsy was here last week. Had a great time with Mernsy and Jake and AJ. Just a great time. Who let Mernsy in? I let him in, goddammit. Both casts are brilliant. Maybe I go Return because they're so fun, but Day has the scientist, the asshole military guy, and I love the citizen workers. They give me alien vibes. They both are awesome. It's hard. Yes, it is. And I'm going to get into my thoughts on the Return of the Living Dead. If you guys ever watched international trailer to Day of the Dead, it takes place in the movie theater. That's right. I love that trailer. That's a great trailer. Introduced Day of the Dead to my GF last night. What a flick. She loves the main characters. I still can't get over the effects. Savini, really incredible. And yeah, sick shirt, Grande. Thank you so much. It would be awesome to have lenticular slipcover of Return of the Living Dead. Dude, that would be fucking awesome. But let me get into the cast now of the Return of the Living Dead, because that's nothing to scoff at either, because I really like the mix here. Here you have a mix of the old school meeting the new school. You have a veteran actor in James Karen. You have a veteran actor in Don Calfa. You have a veteran actor in Clu Gulager. Those three guys did so many fucking movies, so many great character acting performances. I always remember James Karen in Mulholland Drive. I love James. I mean, James Karen's great. James Karen was on the Golden Girls for an episode. Always loved James Karen. Just thought he brought a great sense of humor, a great screen presence. Just the guy was just cool as hell. And man, in interviews, he seemed like the nicest human. I wish to God I could have met James Karen. James Karen just seemed like a great fucking human being. Don Calfa is great in this movie. Where the rabid weasels? What are you doing a bunch of rabid weasels for? I love Don Calfa. He's hysterical. And I will forever hate Return of the Living Dead 2 because they fucking brought Don Calfa in to audition for the same role and didn't cast him. What? They're a bunch of idiots over the fucking casting crew party of the fucking Return of the Living Dead 2. I'm sorry. That was a disgrace that you brought the guy in to fucking audition for the same role. That would be like bringing fucking Daniel Craig in to audition for James Bond and not giving it to him. Like, he's been James Bond for the past movie. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. Just odd. And of course, Clu Gulager. I mean, I love Clu Gulager, one of my favorite character actors. Of course, the same year does, funny enough, Freddy's Revenge, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which is a movie I always really liked. I love him as the father in that. I think he's great in this. I think he's arguably the best in this. I love his character in this. I see you Monday, Frank. You know, take it easy. And the fucking, we have rabid weasels in here. I mean, I love fucking, absolutely love Clu Gulager. I think he's great. But then that's old school, and then we meet the new school. And a guy like Tom Matthews, who was an up-and-comer at the time, who done this movie, and the following year does do Jason Lives. I mean, we love Tom Matthews. The guy is awesome. He's just such a likable guy. I know he's been doing conventions. I believe he, for years, lived with George Clooney, funny enough. He was a house sitter slash roommate of George Clooney. Really cool enough. Always loved Tom Matthews. Just thought he was a really fun, energetic guy. And I know that Return of the Living Dead 2 unfortunately steered him away from horror movies. He said that movie was such a disgrace that he felt he never wanted to be a part of horror movies again, even though I know he did come back for the Never Hike in the Snow or whatever the hell it was. He did come back for that. But for a long time, he distanced himself from it because he really resented how the sequel to Return of the Living Dead turned out. But of course, you have a Mark Venturini who was gone too damn soon. I love Mark Venturini. You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life. And have some fucking respect for the dead. I love fucking Mark Venturini in this. He cracks me up, man. He's gone too soon. Unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. I loved Mark Venturini. I love him in this. And of course, in Friday the 13th Part 5, which was also the same year as this, where he's, hey, Vic, forget it. Just forget it. But I think you're really out of line. And fucking axes fucking Joey to death. And leave me alone. And fucking axing the fucking thing. Hysterical. Like, I'll always love that. Speaking of Friday the 13th Part 5 alum and Return of the Living Dead alum, fucking Miguel A. Nunez, Joanna Man himself, is in this movie, and I love him in this movie. Of course, he's Demon in Friday the 13th Part 5, and then he's also here, and I think he's just great. I love the energy that Miguel Nunez brings to this movie. I just love his performance in this. And, you know, where he and Clu Gulager are fighting about who's going to go outside and drive the car. I'm going to drive the car. No, I'm going to drive the car. Fuck you. No, fuck you. Like the two of them shouting at each other as they go out and with baseball bats and lead pipes swinging at the zombies. And I mean, just so funny, man. I love the fucking, you know, banter between those two. I thought that was really, really fun stuff. Of course, the legendary Linnea Quigley, who, you know, a lot of us horror fans, I mean, if that wasn't the first pair of Yet's horror fans saw, I mean, you know, it's very, very hard to do because, I mean, she's in this, she's in Night of the Demons, she's in the, you know, Sorority Babes and the Slime Bowl-orama and all these fucking movies, fucking so many movies, Chopping Mall. Love Linnea Quigley. Is she in Chopping Mall? Is she fucking in Chopping? I actually might have got that wrong. I don't know if she's in Chopping Mall. I know Kelly Maroney's in Chopping Mall, but I forget is Linnea fucking Quigley in that. I don't know. I don't remember. But love Linnea Quigley, you know, that being the point. I absolutely love Linnea. I think she's great. A sex symbol of, you know, horror and in my opinion, a big reason as to why this movie is remembered, right? I mean, her whole dance. Tonight we'll make love till we die. Her dancing naked on the fucking gravestone and everybody else with the torches going around her. Of course, they couldn't show her pussy, so they did a fucking like skin cast over her pussy. Very bizarre with the 1980s, man. You think they would let her get away with showing a little bit of bush, but no bush in these fucking movies. Which, you know, it is what it is, but she's still looking great in this movie, and I love it. Isn't my darkest fantasy is to be eaten alive by a bunch of, you know, like I love the way she explains the whole thing with that just dead monotone. Like that's my biggest fear is to be eaten alive. I love her, man. I think she's just great. I always really liked her in this movie. Beverly Randolph is Tina, the goody two shoes girl. You know, not much for her to do in this movie. She's kind of just like there along for the ride to be the goody two shoes. Jewel Shepard, who apparently everybody fucking hated Jewel Shepard. Everybody said she was a piece of shit. And then Brian Pegascuz, who doesn't have much to do in this movie. I know he was very much involved in this series, you know, as the years went on. I know in real life he's been, you know, he's not a good person. There's some fucked up shit about him in real life is what it is. But cast versus cast here, it is damn tough. I mean, you do have the homemade movie feel of the Romero film, and you do have the old school and the new school kind of coming together with Dan O'Bannon's film. And you know what? For this particular category, we're going to go Return of the Living Dead. I think Return of the Living Dead has slightly better cast when it comes to, you know, just its overall kind of scope and shape. I really like, you know, getting veterans and then mixing them with young up and comers that, you know, we would go on to know, or kids that were just breaking into the business because of course they were also all in all these other movies the same year. They were all in either Friday the 13th sequel, you know, whether it be 5 or 6, they were all in fucking, you know, they had somebody, a veteran in the Freddy sequel. You had all these people just kind of breaking into the business. And, you know, I really think all of them did a wonderful job at portraying these characters, these fun kind of group of friends. And then, of course, these veteran actors, you know, silly, but keeping it together type of thing. I would go Return of the Living Dead. We'll get the point here for cast versus cast. And it's tough. It's hard for me to do that to good old George. But cast versus cast, we're actually going to go RLTLD on this one. So that is here. Let's see. Hey, Mernsy, all good. Asking to do the stupid wildfires here in CA. Yeah, I hope all of my Canadian friends are doing okay. Good, buddy. Just smells like campfire everywhere. Yeah, it passed through here yesterday, and the whole city turned orange. And of course, the fucking internet being the internet, the whole city's orange. It smells like smoke outside. Somebody fucking crop Godzilla in there. Just, everything becomes a joke. Everything. This internet, the world is a fucking meme. And it's just like, everyone's just like trying to be the funniest motherfucker on the internet. It's just so crazy. Somebody put the Breaking Bad guys in there. The Godzilla one, I was like, yo, this is like, I actually can't believe somebody did that. It's so fucking funny. Insane Buddy here in London, Ontario. Air is pretty good for now. Good, good. Glad to hear that too, for sure. Hope both of you stay safe. Kubrick Lovers here. Hey, Grande, how are you? A bit delayed, but I'm here now. Welcome, my friend Brian. Hope all is well with you, man. People saying hi to each other. Yeah, Return has a much more vibrant cast, and that's why I'm going Return here. I just like I said, I love the Day of the Dead cast, but man, Return of the Living Dead is just it's a little bit more upbeat, up energy. I just think the cast is a little bit more vibrant. So yeah, I'm gonna go ROTLD here for this point. And Return of the Living Dead, just like that, takes a 2-1 lead over Day of the Dead. And now we move into this category, effects versus effects. Of course, here you'll see the legendary Tom Savini, you see Greg Nicotero, you see Howard Sherman as Bub, and then of course below this you see the special makeup effects artist for the Return of the Living Dead, which I actually fucking am blanking on his name. So give me 1 second. I'm actually gonna have to cheat here because I'm forgetting the guy's fucking name, and that's not right. Let's see, makeup direction. What the fuck? Was it Michael Splatola? I think. Oh no, I'm sorry. Alan A. Apone, AAA baby. Hell yeah, that was the main special makeup effects guy. But I'm sorry, I blanked on his fucking name. Yeah, this is a very interesting category because I actually think the makeup effects in both these movies are fantastic. We're starting off with Tom Savini, who, of course, worked with Romero for years and years with, of course, from Martin all the way up until A Day of the Dead. I think they worked together after that, but not as much as they did, in that time before then. Of course, Savini was on the set for Creepshow. He creates Fluffy. He creates, the Father's Day design. And of course, all the blood squibs in Dawn of the Dead and all the stunts and things like that. Savini was just an integral part of Romero's career during his golden era. Savini was always there doing the effects. And of course, an up-and-coming protege and Greg Nicotero, who's also in the film as one of the military guys. Granted, not many lines, but he's there. Tasso's also there, who'll be at the fucking thing tomorrow. Cool enough. Tasso will be there. Tasso, guy who's, who worked with Savini on Friday the 13th and, Dawn of the Dead, all these films like that. Just the legendary crew from Tom Savini, and arguably Tom Savini is the greatest of all time when it comes to special makeup effects. I mean, you could do a show just based on movies he did the effects for. I mean, you're talking about Maniac, you're talking about Friday the 13th, you're talking about The Burning, you're talking about Dawn of the Dead, you're talking about Creepshow, you're talking about Day of the Dead, Martin. So many movies that he graced us with his presence when it came to great special makeup effects. And Day of the Dead might be his masterpiece. In my opinion, it is. I think it's the pinnacle of Tom Savini makeup effects is this movie. I mean, of course, you have the zombie that turns to try to reach Sarah and all the guts spill out into the floor. You have the amazing, bites and blood squibs and things like that. Of course, the gunshots, squib to the head gimmick. You have this amazing thing where it's a cadaver and it has no face, eyes, mouth, nose, nothing. It's just a brain and a body. And he can make it, if he electrocutes it, it'll like reach up and things like that. And what they did was they put the actor underneath the table. And so it's really a real body, but it looks like this fucking body without a fucking face. And it's just a brain. Amazing special makeup effect. Of course, who could forget the grand finale of Rhodes being ripped in half and choke on him as the zombies pull him in half and start eating his fucking intestines. Amazing. I mean, just some of the best special makeup effects you'll ever fucking see. Amazing stuff. In my opinion, it's Savini's masterpiece when it comes to special makeup effects. You really can't beat the makeup effects in this movie. And then, of course, Return of the Living Dead, which I mean, I think in the special makeup effects department is quite underrated. Of course, when Tarman bites into Mark Venturini's skull, how real that looks, in my opinion, to this day. I mean, I watched the movie in 4K in the best possible quality you could watch it in. And man, it still looks fucking real. It still looks, he just took a bite of that motherfucker's head and took out some brains and blood and all of that stuff. I mean, it's just crazy. The scene where Brian Peck is getting bit, all the practical blood and all that stuff. And the scene where they pull the zombie in and she's cut in half, as you can see here, this face, this woman who's, we're in pain. Oh, we're in pain. The brains makes the pain go away. And she's explaining why they want brains. Some of that is great. I love the fucking cut in half body as she's explaining, oh, the pain, it's horrible, unbearable, all this stuff. Love that. I think that was just great, how this was done. And of course, not to say that the designs of the zombies in Return of the Living Dead, I really like that instead of all of them having the skin and then maybe a flesh wound here and there, some of them come out as skeletons. Of course, you have the opens his mouth and, do you want to party? That's great. It's different type of looking zombies, right? You do have the classic, different colored skin and fucking running at motherfuckers. But this, you also have the skeletons and zombies that are cut in half, using their arms only to come at people, midget zombies. I like the zombies a lot in Return of the Living Dead. I thought they were fun. And of course, they introduce, well, I don't maybe not introduced, but this is one of the first movies I can remember where the zombies ran. Right. And Romero, I know, was a big proponent that he was against that because zombies should walk and death is an impediment, not an energy drink. I got that whole conversation argument from Romero. I don't think it matters. I always have been in the ballpark of if your movie is good, that's what I care about. I don't care if your zombies run. I don't care if they walk. I don't care if they're fucking faster than Usain Bolt. I care if your movie's good. That's all I care about. I'm not one of those big like, oh, it's not a real zombie movie if they walk, if they don't walk. No, that's you're a nerd, my guy. And I'm a nerd, but then you're a fucking nerd. That's the thing. I really like the design and the look of the zombies in Return of the Living Dead. I thought they did a wonderful job with it and to make it feel a little bit different, a little bit more distinct. But in my opinion, I don't think you could go with any other fucking choice here but Tom Savini. It is his masterpiece. It really is his masterpiece. And I don't think, it's funny with he and Romero, I don't think they ever reached a pinnacle this high again in either of their career. Of course, Savini, after this, he would get into directing, and he did a great job as a director. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how good of a director Tom Savini was. He directs the Inside the Closet episode of Tales from the Dark Side, which is pretty much the number one episode people remember from Tales from the Dark Side. That was directed by Savini. He also directs the family reunion episode, which is my personal favorite Tales from the Dark Side episode that there ever was, with Patricia Tallman, and they have this kid who's a werewolf, and the parents are separated. She's trying to get custody of the kid back, and the father is trying to keep the kid chained up in his room so he won't break out at night and eat anyone. Just a great episode of television. Savini at his absolute best. And of course, the Halloween Candy episode. So many great things that Savini actually was apart from the direction chair standpoint. And of course, he would go on to remake Night of the Living Dead 1990, which I think is a damn good remake. And I know a lot of people that will tell you they think it's better than Romero's Night of the Living Dead. I don't think that, but I love the Night of the Living Dead remake. That's a damn good movie. And it feels more like a Romero directed / written zombie movie than Land Diary and Survival does. That's how fucking good Night of the Living Dead 1990 is. It still has that homemade Pittsburgh feel to it. And arguably is the last movie that ever did have that feel to it in this whole kind of Romero Savini run. I love Tom Savini, and I really do think, of all the years of, him up and coming, whether it be Martin and Dawn of the Dead, that's where he kind of got his feet wet in the business. Friday the 13th, when he became a megastar and everybody and their mother wanted to work with him. The Prowler, The Burning, Maniac, all of these movies where he really was just getting better and better and better each movie that you looked at, Creepshow, until you get to here where, in my opinion, it's Savini's masterpiece. It really is Tom Savini's best movie as a special makeup effects guy, and I think that you have to give the point to Savini. I know a lot of people have said nasty things about him. He'll be there tomorrow. I'm avoiding him because I've heard nothing but negative, really, about people that have met him. I've heard he's kind of an asshole. So I will stay away because I want to keep these memories as good and fresh and positive in my mind. Tom Savini for the win. We are tied at 2-2. Yes, and we will move on to the next category, which is lead zombie versus lead zombie. We have, of course, Howard Sherman as Bub, and then, of course, we have the Tar Man, who is played by, I always forget who the fucking actor is that plays the Tar Man. Let me fucking, I have the sheet on this one too. Alan Troutman as the Tar Man, who does a great job as this character. But let's get back to comments. We actually didn't have too many. Cool. Got to go with the legendary Savini. I agree. Yeah, that smoke shit is crazy. Went outside the other day for a little bit, and kid, you got no cotton mouth. It's gone now, but Jesus, I feel bad for Canada. All right. I think that a lot of people thought that Day was the final film of the famous trilogy. Well, in a lot of ways it was. Like, in a lot of ways, it's Romero's last great film. Like, I really feel that way. I don't think, and it's funny because Return of the Living Dead it's weird. Both of these movies probably should have started an era of zombie movies going into the late half of the 1980s into the early 90s. There really didn't. Like Day of the Dead died. The whole caption was, and we can actually, you know what, we can get into this a little bit here. Day of the Dead died at the box office. That was the big headline when Day of the Dead came out, because domestically it didn't do well. It didn't do shit. Return of the Living Dead did much better domestically. In fact, it almost made as much as Day of the Dead did domestically in its first fucking weekend. And we can get into the numbers there. Let me do a different screen share, because this is a very interesting thing as we get into the box office numbers. So here's Day of the Dead. Let me make myself smaller. Let me make this screen a little bit bigger if I can. Yeah, we'll zoom in a little bit. I think everybody should be able to see that. Okay, I'm going to take Fred's comment down. So here was the numbers for Day of the Dead. Of course, it opened limitedly on July 13th. That was the limited release of Romero's Day of the Dead. Opens wide worldwide July the 19th. And these numbers here, these aren't actually correct. Like you'll see, it says, 168 theaters was its wide release. That's not true. That's actually completely false. I don't know why they have that there. That was its limited release. It was 168 theaters. The film domestically grossed $5.8 million against a budget of like 3 to 4. I know Romero said 3.5. Some other people have said 4. I always thought it was 3.5 to 4. So $3.5 to $4 million was the budget. The movie grossed about 5.8 domestically. That's terrible against a budget of 3 to 4. If it's 4, it's even worse. 3.5, it's still really bad. You're usually the instant profit is your money times 2, and 3.5 times 2 is, what is it, 7? And this movie made 5.8 in the United States domestically. So it bombed in the United States. It, no doubt about it, it died at the box office. Dawn of the Dead made $66 million worldwide with less than $1 million budget. Day of the Dead barely makes 5.8 million in the US. However, Day of the Dead did much better overseas. And I know it doesn't say that on here, but Day of the Dead did much better overseas because it grossed about 28 plus million overseas. So total worldwide gross of 33 million. The movie also did great box office wise. I believe this is a movie that HBO picked up in the late 1980s and it would air it a ton. So they got some revenue from them. They definitely over time, salvaged their wounds. Their wounds healed of this movie not doing that well in the United States. And I think the thing was even more so than, box office wise, is critically this movie was not liked at the time. Of course, Roger Ebert put Dawn of the Dead over. It's the greatest horror movie they ever made. I agree with you, Robert. But Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel hated it. They both gave it 2 thumbs down. I believe Roger Ebert gave it a 1.5 stars. They hated the idea of a zombie shooting a gun. They hated the over-the-top acting and the dialogue and Sarah's research. And, I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my time. And is there food? I mean, he hated this movie, hated the over-the-top nature of this kind of grand marquee play known as Day of the Dead. Roger Ebert hated it. Critics hated it. And it really was not a liked film when it came out. Now, you flip the screen to, of course, Return of the Living Dead, which actually did a little bit better, in this kind of field and made a little bit more money. Now, I can do the screen share here for Return of the Living Dead. And you'll see that opening weekend, it made $4.4 million. And this movie went up against some fucking heavyweights. This movie was out, I think, the same weekend or around the same weekend as John Candy and Summer Rental, which is a movie I really love. Also around this time was Volunteers with John Candy and Tom Hanks, which is a piece of shit. Never watch Volunteers. It's the worst movie that Tom Hanks and John Candy were ever in. Horrible. But it ended up doing pretty damn good. It was released in 1,500 theaters, and it ended up grossing about $14.237 million. That is nothing to scoff at against a budget of around, again, 3 to 4. They got around the same money that Romero got to make Day of the Dead. So this movie did much better domestically. Internationally, apparently it was a big hit. Now, I couldn't find anything in my research to see what it made internationally. However, I know the film was a giant hit in Japan. Japan loved The Return of the Living Dead to the point where I believe the only reason you get James Cameron and Tom Matthews in the sequel is because in Japanese pop culture, those two characters fucking blew up. And their chemistry together with these things are rock solid. It's, great. I mean, their chemistry was so fucking beloved that they wanted them back in the sequel to play the same characters again, even though they had already died. Great stuff. I love Tom Matthews and James Cameron together. So from what I understand, the movie did do well overseas. However, I don't have numbers to back that up. So you're going to have to take my word on that, or take history's word on that. But, box office wise, yeah, Day of the Dead, and critically wise, it was considered a failure. And if you look at a Rotten Tomatoes, you look at an IMDb, Return of the Living Dead is the winner here. Barely on both of them. It has a slightly better tomato score, has slightly better IMDb score, 7.3 to Day of the Dead 7.1. So critics-wise, they preferred Return of the Living Dead, which is interesting because I actually think a snobby movie critic would prefer Day of the Dead as opposed to the punk rock zombie 1980s and party that is Return of the Living Dead. I actually would think critics would feel the other way about it, but they didn't. Very interesting. But let's get back to comments before we get into zombie versus zombie. I think we were here. This just isn't fair. You can't choose between Bub and Tarman. We're gonna choose right now, Trenchy. Brace yourself. Anyone else get Will Ferrell vibes with Bub? I can't say I did. I love Howard Sherman, though. I think he does a great job. Grande, I met Savini, seemed like a nice guy to me. I met him when I was a teenager. Oh my God, wow, that's so cool. That is so freaking cool. Internationally, Day did great. Day made almost 30 million overseas. But Return of the Living Dead, I can't find the numbers. I don't know how the film did, but it made 14 plus in the fucking States, which is really good. Because again, you're going by the same math. Your money by two. It almost made 4 times its budget. So that's really, really good. That's nothing to scoff at here. Bit late to the party, but hey, what's up, everybody? Anthony's in the house. Fever Dreamland Theaters here. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Usually filmmakers sometimes have film that doesn't make a lot of money, but at box office, even if they make a lot of blockbusters, Spielberg had a few unsuccessful films, even a lot of his films that made a lot of money. Okay, Grande, I'm going to make it a mission for my life to watch Volunteers in spite of you. LOL, yeah, good luck. That if you do that, you will regret it. Greetings, Pat is here. Have Cheetah will view. Welcome, my friend. Hey, Pat, man, I hope you're still here. Tomorrow, Pat, I'm going to be in Pittsburgh. I'm going to be taking a picture with Franco Harris's statue in the airport, buddy. I promise I'll send it to you as soon as I take it. And I'll be repping my Steeler jersey in the airport. I'm super excited to go. In Italy, Return of the Living Dead, it's much famous than Day of the Dead. That's right. I from what I understand, the film did great overseas, but I don't know if anyone could find fucking documentation of that. I can't find a number. Like, if you looked at what I just showed, that screen I had up before, it doesn't say anything for international. It doesn't give an international number. So I don't know. I really don't know what the film made overseas, but I know it fucking blew up in Japan. And from Matteo's statement, it blew up in Italy. So it probably was a fucking monster hit overseas. And because Day of the Dead, if that was a big hit overseas, and Return of the Living Dead, you're telling me that it was more famous in Japan and Italy. Those are two giant fucking markets. I would think, yeah, it did fucking great overseas as well. Maybe even better than it did in the States. Greetings, Kubrick. Awesome to have you here, Pat. I always find the box office interesting. Sometimes the numbers are so surprising, and the same with critics. I'm glad later. That's true. Like, both of these movies now are appreciated, and I am very happy for that. But I think Romero for a long time resented this movie because of, at the time, it got better reviews than this, and it made more money in the United States than this. I think he seriously fucking resented this movie, and I drive that point home with 2 separate stories. Number one, from a producer, an associate producer of Day of the Dead, said that he heard Romero say that he despised the Return of the Living Dead, that he was angry about it, that it outshined this movie at the time, and he always held, anger and resentment towards the success of that movie. And even from Romero himself, I've heard that. And now first off, secondhand stories, you don't know if he really said that. Heard Romero himself say that. And Romero did an interview with the Dead Pit guys. Shout out to Wes and Aaron, love CK and UB. Years ago, back on their show, the Dead Pit show, they did a 3-part interview with Romero, and he asked them, "What do you think is the best zombie movie that isn't mine?" And they both, without a question, said Return of the Living Dead. And they said, "What did you think of it?" And he said, "I hated it." And he did not like the Return of the Living Dead. He probably because it did better than Day, and probably because they were 2 weeks released apart. And I do know there was confusion at the time. There was a great confusion as to which was the Romero one, which was the O'Bannon one, because I have an uncle that went to see the premiere of this thinking it was the Romero movie. He thought he was going to see Romero, and then pleasantly got surprised with this. And of course, this came out first, so there's probably a lot of people that were confused, at the time, because you have Night of the Living Dead, but then Return of the Living Dead, and you have Dawn of the Dead, but Day of the Dead. So I bet you at the time people got confused, and I think that absolutely, I know people will disagree, but I do think that affects box office. The title of your film is a big deal. Look at that Harley Quinn movie. How much did that Harley Quinn movie make? Because they give this shitty title, Harley Quinn and the Fabulous. No, I'm sorry, Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Why are you naming a movie that? That's horrible. Just fucking Harley Quinn. That's it. Harley Quinn. Anything. Don't name it that. I mean, and the movie bombed. You lost to a blue fucking CGI hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog ran circles around you. Pun intended. I love it. Long live Sonic. Long live Jim Carrey. Hey, Patrick. Franco! I can't wait, man. I'm going to descend into heaven. I hope you have a good time this weekend. And that's all because of Brian. Brian's the one that told me about it. So, Brian, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'm so excited and on cloud nine to be there this weekend. I'm so looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to have the best time ever. At the end of this, I'm going to preview who I want to meet and stuff like that, scheduling, all that good stuff. And funny enough, Pat knows I'm a big Mets fan. Most of you guys probably know I'm a big Mets fan. Anthony's a Yankee fan. We'll say Yankees because I love Anthony. But the Mets are going to be in town this weekend, and my ass is going to be at a Mets game too. They're in Pittsburgh the only time this year, this weekend. I figured it was fate. Funny enough, I calculated what the odds were that the fucking Living Dead weekend and the Mets would all be in fucking town the same weekend. I calculated it. Fucking less than 1%. That's how fate this weekend is. I am so looking forward to it. Tried watching Volunteers as a kid, bored the shit out of me. Well, it's a piece of shit, so I don't blame you. Romero liked Day the best. That's true. Romero's favorite of all of his zombie movies is Day, and it's his second favorite movie that he ever did behind Martin, I believe. Martin's his favorite movie he ever did. And I'm going to meet Martin, funny enough, John Amplis, he didn't get all the money he wanted. That's right. They wanted the $6 million. They only gave him 3.5 to 4 because Salah M. Hassanen said, we can't do $6 million unrated. I'll give you 3.5 to 4 unrated, which is a shame. I dig Land of the Dead a lot. They are unveiling a new Land of the Dead exhibit tomorrow. So it's going to be really cool stuff. Strangelove has a long title. Well, Strangelove's a classic. Happy Grande, dude, thank you. Longest Harley Quinn title was Margot Robbie's idea. Well, they lost a lot of fucking money because of that. The Pirates are playing a spring training game in the middle of the season. That's all right, Pat. This guy's taking shots now. This guy's he's behind his keyboard going, ha, ha, ha. That is what it is. Day is my favorite of the trilogy. I know a lot of people that feel that way. I know a lot of people that feel that way. And honestly, I can't argue it. I know Dawn's my favorite movie of all time, but I can't argue if somebody says they think Day is better. Because in a lot of ways, it is better. And that's coming from someone who loves Dawn of the Dead and thinks the greatest movie ever made. But, that is what it is. Let's get back to this, though. We're tied at 2, moving into category number 5. Lead zombie versus lead zombie. Of course, Howard Sherman as Bub, Alan Troutman as the Tar Man. Wow. Wow. So this is a very interesting tiebreaker for the moment, as we have 2 iconic zombies, probably Romero's most iconic zombie, and probably the most iconic zombie that is non-Romero, going at each other here. Very interesting battle here. Of course, you have, Alan Troutman as the Tar Man, who was just a very interesting, entertaining character that's all over the Return of the Living Dead merch. The first zombie ever to speak, brains. The way that Alan Troutman moved in the fucking suit and all the fucking goo that fell off him, and just the design of it was just fantastic. The way he walked, really interesting stuff. Love Alan Troutman's portrayal of the Tar Man, and honestly, one of the most influential and infamous zombies there ever were. And on the other page, though, you have Howard Sherman as Bub, who is Dr. Frankenstein, Richard Liberty's star pupil, who he gives all of these things to, whether it be a toothbrush, a razor, Salem's Lot novel, all these things he puts in front of him, and he uses his primitive memory to, pretend to shave or read the book or listen to music where Frankenstein teaches him. You put the music back on with the green, you stop it with the red, and his face and excitement of the music. Of course, when he sees the military officer in Rhodes, he goes up for the salute, and Rhodes is, you think I'm going to salute that walking pile of pus? I mean, amazing as he doesn't want to salute good old Bub. Of course, and then teaching Bub to shoot a fucking gun towards the end. And of course, that great finale of, come on! Come on! Where Rhodes is waving him on. Come on! Come on, you dead bastard! Come and get him, and he opens, woo! Woo! Turns around, boom, gets shot. And then, of course, the salute as Bub kind of just walks off into the sunset, the day sunset. Great. I mean, great stuff. It's impossible. It's so hard to pick. I want to hear what people say. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Bub or Tarman? Let me hear it, because this is the fucking hardest category yet for me. I think this is so fucking hard. Let's go back. I think we were here. Are you doing Babes versus Babes for this movie? No Babes versus Babes. We had One Sheet versus One Sheet, which went to Return of the Living Dead. We had writer-director versus writer-director, which went Day. We did cast versus cast, which went Return. And then we just did effects versus effects, which went Day. So we're tied at 2. This is category number 5, up 7. So this is a very interesting one. I want to hear what the chat has to say, though. Bub or Tarman? Where are we going here? Bub is so funny. I love Bub. Maybe Bub has a little kid's mind. That's the thing. Like, the innocence and the naive of a child, that's what Bub plays. The gentle zombie, if you will. Sherman does a great job. He portrayed it like an infant. That's how it works. Brother Thomas here. Hi, all. Great idea for a face-off. Tarman takes the category. Very fluid and dripping design. I like Bub, but Tarman is weary goodness. Hell yeah, man. Glad to have you in the house tonight. I might have to go Bub for the salute scene at the end, but Tarman is amazing in his own rights, from the look to brains. It's so hard. The Bub salutes you. Sort of makes me think of Roy Beatty and Blade Runner. The replicants only have a 4-year lifespan, so maybe that's why he acts like a toddler with Deckard at the end of the movie. That's a very good comparison. Yes, absolutely see where you're coming from there. AJ goes Bub, even though I'm pretty sure he goes Return of the Living Dead overall. So we got 2 for Bub, 1 for the Tarman. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Bub, Tarman, anybody? Before I give my fucking 2 cents on this son of a bitch. It is hard. I think honestly, they're the 2 greatest zombies ever made. And if it's a 1A, 1B type of situation. Mernsey goes, yeah, Bub likes music more, so he's got my vote. He likes classical music more. Bub versus Tarman, this is tough. I'd go Bub, but Tarman is amazing. I love Tarman as well. Return is better technical achievement, but recognizing remaining humanity is terrifying. Oh, sure, definitely. I agree. That's what Day does so well. But I'm with the majority of y'all. I'm going to go Bub here too. So Bub, good old Bub salutes the chat. He salutes the Tarman, because the Day of the Dead takes a 3-2 lead in this son of a bitch. Day of the Dead out to its first lead as we move on into our next category, ladies and gents. This is getting fun. Category numero 6, music versus music. Of course, on the top, we have the legendary John Amplis. And on the bottom here, of course, the SSQ song from The Return of the Living Dead. Tonight, we'll make love till we die. Wow. Music versus music for these 2 movies is so tough. I mean, you have John Harrison, who is coming off one of the great all-time scores in Creepshow. That great piano score that John Harrison brings to Creepshow. And then here, it's very different, because how do you follow Goblin from Dawn of the Dead? How the fuck does one follow Goblin? If you said, hey, Grande, follow Goblin, I'd say, I fucking can't do it. I can't. I refuse the job. It's impossible to top Goblin. I can't do it. I just can't. John Harrison almost fucking does it here. I mean, John Harrison's score is great in Day of the Dead. Ba-bum, 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 ba-da-da-da. Amazing. And some of the, tropical score of this movie, and I just love his score in this. He does have a slight nod to Dawn of the Dead. If you listen closely, there's a scene where he does his version of the gong. You hear the ba-bum, bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, bum. It's a lot higher pitched, used on a synthesizer. Harrison loved using the synthesizer. He was a big synthesizer guy. Of course, he directed and wrote a lot of episodes of the Tales from the Dark Side. If people remember the Satanic Piano episode, a lot of synth music in that. I mean, John Harrison got it. I really like what John Harrison brought to Day of the Dead score, feel, tone, all that stuff. Some of the military stuff, some of the stuff with the zombies. Just really like the score. I think it's really underrated when it comes to the great scores of all time. But then on the other hand, you have the Return of the Living Dead. And man, I love the theme of Return of the Living Dead. From the opening where, oh, these things are solid proof. It hits it, and then we get the opening titles. Bum, 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 and of course the bump, bada, bump, bada, bump, bada, bada, bump, bump, bump. I love that. That is the most like, let's get a bunch of fucking friends and just fucking mark out to this fucking shit, because that theme is how it raises the fucking tension and the energy and the vibe. This movie was 1980s personified. It was the most 1985 movie of 1985. And this theme, this score is a big reason for that. And on top of that, the entire soundtrack that they add, the 45 Grave song. Do you want to party? Ba-ba-da. It's party time. And of course, the Linnea Quigley, tonight we'll make love till we die. I mean, so many great fucking songs in this, because it's a difference of style. It's a difference of, one film to another here, even though these are two zombie films in the same genre in the same year that came out 2 weeks apart that are polar opposites. Day of the Dead with the more classical score, a more, of its era, not of its era, but more of its, film. But this is much more, the return score is much more 1980s, man. It's just so much more punk rock. I think that's the difference between these movies. One is like, this is like classical music, and this one's fucking punk rock 80s, fast, loud, and out of control. It's the only way rock and roll should ever be played, is fast, loud, and out of control. And then this is like classical music, something Beethoven would write. Of course, you do hear the Beethoven symphony from Bop. You can't beat it. I really think both of the musical scores in this movie are fucking incredible. Really great stuff. I mean, from top to bottom, I love the scores of these movies. So let's check the chat here. I'll have to watch Return of the Living Dead. Never seen it? Wow, that's surprising. Goblin sound is very, gotta love Goblin, man. Grande, are you going to take pictures and video? Of course, man. It's all I'm going to do. Wasn't Linnea Quigley in Chopping Mall? I thought she was, but somebody, I don't know, before nobody confirmed. I thought Linnea Quigley was in fucking Chopping Mall. I think so. But for some reason, and I saw Chopping Mall not too long ago. Day is a better movie score, but ROTLD is a better soundtrack. So it's hard, right? I don't know though. Like that fucking Return of the Living Dead score is so good, man. It's just so much more like, God damn it. But I do love the opening of Day of the Dead. Hello, bum 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 bum. I mean, it's so awesome. I love how fucking the movie opens, at the Florida exteriors. Great stuff. Harrison did a really good job, coming off Creepshow and answering Goblin. And in my opinion, doing a great job doing so. Got to go Return for 80 sound. Okay, so we got one vote for each. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Of course, I always have my mind made up before these shows, but it is fun to kind of draw suspense out of motherfuckers. So we have one vote for each. I'll take a swig of the water in the meantime. So cheers again, everybody. Anybody else? I like the alligator. Yes, that's right. They had the two alligator wrangler guys dressed as zombies to make sure the alligator wouldn't fucking do anything. I think I'd go with Return of the Living Dead. This case for the music. Okay, fair enough. Very interesting choice here. Anybody else? All right, too late. We're picking here. We are tied again. It's 3-3. Return of the Living Dead knots things up at 3, going to game fucking 7, baby. Yes. And of course, right, I say that Kubrick says day. So, all right. It was a tie in the chat. It was 2-2 in the chat. It's 3-3 in the fucking thing. I guess Return for this category. I would say Return as well. You can't beat it. I think that fucking score is iconic. And here we are. The final category. Finale versus finale. Yes, of course, we see Captain Rhodes, of course, the late Joe Pilato, may rest in peace, just about to be ripped apart by zombies. And then, of course, here, Clu Gulager taking a bat to the Tar Man's head. Just some really fun stuff here as we get to our finales. It's funny. The very endings of these movies are probably my only gripes with either of them. Day of the Dead has a great, I mean, most of the finale is great. The very ending of them on the island and they're fishing, and yeah, it's nice. And they have that tropical type of score as she's checking off the days on the calendar. Very kind of happy ending, a sappy ending. And then, of course, Return of the Living Dead ends with they drop the fucking nuclear bomb on the fucking. It's like, what the fuck? Like, really? I never saw it coming as a kid. I was always like, really? Like, oh, ways to end a movie. But I guess, is what it is. To try to, at first you think not to set up for a sequel, but then of course the rain will be taking everything out. And you hear the Return of Living Dead will return type of thing. The very endings, both of them, I'm like, but the finales themselves, like the climatic finales of both of these, are fucking so good. Of course, in Day of the Dead, here I can scroll up to Day of the Dead's finale, where Miguel, of course, I'm trying to find the damn cursor. Miguel, he's finally had it. He's had it up to here. He has his arm taken off, and he's healing up in the Ritz, of course, which is run by Terry Alexander and McDermott's character. I love that. I think that stuff is great. As he breaks down and he goes out and lifts the platform up to get all the zombies in. He's biting on the dog chains, lets them back down, and of course Gary Clark. Holy shit! Holy fucking shit! I can't fix it, Rickles. He fucking ripped it out, Rickles. You almost killed Rickles. We ain't get paid enough to do this. We ain't get paid at all. I mean, I love fucking Rickles and Gary Clark is fucking steel. Great stuff. I love it, man. Just those two back and forth. And then the zombies come down, and man, shit hits the fan as Tom Savini's effects go haywire, man. You have this one guy, his head gets ripped from his body, and you hear the vocal cords get louder and louder as his head's being detached. He's screaming, and it sounds more and more, high pitched as it goes. And they do this great thing with animatronics where the jaw is always moving to make it look real. Love that stuff. You do see the one guy, he gets his head ripped right here, and his eyeball just pops out, and he's fucking getting the whole Rickles, holy shit, holy fucking shit. He's like laughing about it. He's like so scared that he starts to laugh because that's the only way you can fucking, counteract the feeling of fucking frightened terror of this. And he gets his eye ripped out. Crazy. Of course, Gary Clark, come on, Bob. And he's fucking pointing the gun at him, and then he gets attacked from behind. And of course, Gary Clark, I had to make him a Christian. So he does and blows his fucking head off. And amazing as all these, scumbag military guys get their comeuppance. But of course they save the best for last. Of course they save Captain Rhodes' death for last because, the Napoleon complex character and the, sit down or so help me God, I'll have you shot. We got to work with what we got. I love the fucking Joe Pilato, so good in this fucking movie, and the martial law and Napoleon complex, all this stuff. As Bub starts to shoot him, and he's running and limping and crying, and come on! He's rolling up against the wall, opens the door, and the zombies are there, gets shot again, and then ripped in half. I mean, just amazing stuff. They use the real pig guts and all that stuff. And of course, only Rhodes to go out with choke on him. Choke on him. Choke on my fucking guts, you bastards. That's one tough son of a bitch. Whether you like him or hate him, that's one tough son of a bitch. Love that stuff. Then, of course, our leads, they escape the kind of, underground bunker, if you will. They get to the helicopter. You're going to fly us to the promised land, Johnny. I'm counting on you to fly us to the promised land. And you get the idea that they did get there. You do get a great jump scare in the plane. I thought that was great. I know a lot of people that hate jump scares now. It's like the meta thing to hate jump scares. Bullshit. That's a good jump scare. They live happily ever after. Happily ever after. Whatever. It's okay. But you also then have, on the other hand, the Return of Living Dead's ending, which is as crazy and gory and good with the special makeup effects as Day of the Dead is. I would say this ending is a little bit more, like high-paced, fast-paced, if you will. I think it's very interesting with the pacing where, they all barricade themselves inside this fucking, place where you cremate bodies and shit. And of course, Tom Matthews and James Karen are slowly turning into fucking zombies. Tom Matthews goes evil. James Karen decides he's going to burn himself alive. Dodd Calfa fucking tries to grab, the lead girl, and they're trying to hide from Tom Matthews. They throw the acid in his face. You get this great acid makeup effect of his eyes. Tina, I just want to talk. Great stuff there. I love that. You have fucking Clu Gulager and Miguel Nunez running out into the zombies with the fucking fighting zombies and shit, and send more paramedics. I love that, where the fucking zombies keep sending in more and more paramedics to eat their brains, and the fucking paramedics, they come out, they walk out, oh, there's nothing going on here. They walk up to the building and, no, get back in your fucking car, and all the fucking zombies just attack them like a fucking Jamaican bobsled team. It's some of the funniest shit you'll ever see. I just love the fucking how up tempo this finale is, man. And then of course, Linnea Quigley walking out with the all blue skin now and naked, and this bum is like, yeah, hell yeah. And then as she gets closer, he realizes, he's like, oh my god, like this is a fucking zombie, and then bites his head off. Great stuff. Love the finale. It's a lot of fun. It's very much a little bit more up tempo. So on one hand, Day of the Dead, you have this gory, crazy finale with all these piece of shit scumbag characters getting their comeuppance. Their protagonist flying to safety, flying to a island, which has always been mentioned even in Dawn of the Dead. We got an idea. Maybe we can make it to the island. What island? Any island, like that's the whole idea. And even in the Dawn of the Dead remake, I think the Dawn of the Dead remake ends where they fucking end up in an island and then all the zombies are there anyway and they're fucked. But here it doesn't look like that. It looks like we're going to be soaking up some sunshine with Terry Alexander. That's basically how Day of the Dead ends. And then, of course, Return of the Living Dead, they do, Clu Gulager calls the number on the fucking thing and, okay, yes, this happened when? And why didn't you call this number immediately? Oh, all right. They fucking drop bombs on the town, craziness. Really close. Really fucking close, because I think the very endings of both don't quite stick the landing, but I think the lead up to that, both of them are two of the best finales ever. I mean, really ever. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be the decider. So let's get the comments, and then we will pick and crown a winner. I hate the ending of Day. It's too optimistic. So are you going to Return here, even though you haven't seen it? Dawn is a much more appropriate bleak ending. I think Dawn of the Dead is a great fucking ending. John Steele only. Not yet. We're not even close, actually, because I'm going to do a preview of the weekend. I love it when his body is ripped apart. Oh, dude, it's iconic. We have Gary Clark Steele, but then we have John Steele, who's the fucking man. Yes, I will. I will fly you all to the promised land. Hell yeah, John Steele. Winner, chicken dinner. Who will it be? Dusty and Day of the Dead, or Ric Flair and Return of the Living Dead, or will it be a body slam of a tie? Find out only on the Graveyard. Well, this is it. This is the last category. I'm just hearing you guys out. I like the ending for Day, but I prefer the ending of Return of the Living Dead, and Return per pretty much unbeatable in the first movie, because if you burn them, it just makes more of them. And Spider, who did everything right, gets nuked in the end, and they show that rain is contaminated and there will just be more. Exactly, which leads to a bad sequel. I think both have perfect / fitting endings, really closest to which I prefer. I'll go Return of the Living Dead. Return's ending, it hits harder because it's mostly a comedy, then it drops the realistic solution to blow them all away. Yeah, it's kind of true. Granted, I can't say that I got like upset when I was always kind of shocked. I was like, what? Because they do show that military guy at the beginning of the movie, and then you don't see him till the last 2 minutes. And he's, yes, sir. All right, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And this guy's fucking sent out the fucking nuke. I'm like, what the fuck? I always thought it was wild. I was always like, wow. Return is the scariest zombie invasion, in my opinion. Okay, so interesting. So there's a lot of you saying Return here. So Miss C laid it out on the dotted line. What will be the winner? Will it be, of course, Dusty Rhodes's, I guess if Dusty Rhodes, Day of the Dead, baby, or will it be, woo, the Nature Boys, the Return of the Living Dead? Which one wins and why? This is the deciding category. Or will it be a tie? Will it be a 3-3-1 situation? It will not. I have a clear-cut winner. I do have a clear-cut winner. Drum roll. Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead's my favorite of the two. I can't go against Romero here. Day of the Dead gets the category. Day of the Dead takes it 4-3 your final. I love these movies, though, and I do think both of them are 10 out of 10 movies. I really do believe that. And dare I say it, if there was a, Night, Dawn, and Day, that's the trilogy, the Dead trilogy, the best 3 zombie movies. If there was a best zombie movie that's not a Romero movie, it's this movie right here. It really is. It's the most innovative, creative, and fast, loud, out of control punk rock zombie movie that there ever was. And they never found a way to replicate it. They really never did. Like Dawn of the Dead came out, they ripped it off 1,000 times. This movie came out, it never really got ripped off. Like never. Like I would think even in the 90s, like the grunge era, somebody would have said, fuck it, let's do a grunge Return of the Living Dead, which probably would have sucked because I'm not a big grunge guy. But man, just to even fucking give it a shot would have been interesting. Like a Nirvana fucking Return of the Living Dead. That would have been fucking something. Or Soundgarden. Black Dick Hole, son, won't you come wash the zombies away? That would have been fucking amazing. But Day of the Dead, baby, let me tell you something. Me, Cody, and Dustin, we going to be sitting around the campfire watching Bub and Captain Rose go at it. 10 rounds and no regrets, if you will, Cody. Day of the Dead goes over. I love both these movies, though. There's no doubt about it. And in my humble opinion, the two of the best ever made. And of 1985, that's saying a lot. That really is. I mean, Fright Night came out in between these two movies. Reanimator comes out right after. You have Freddy's Revenge. You have Friday the 13th Part 5, my favorite Friday the 13th movie. 1985 is the greatest year in horror history, in my opinion. And these two movies are right in the middle of that and a big, big part of that. So long live both these movies, The Return of the Living Dead and, of course, Day of the Dead. Great, great films. But I definitely think it's close. And I want to see what the chat says. I know at first certain people went one way, but we'll see if anyone's changed their mind. I'm going Return of the Living Dead. And overall, for me, better than Day. Okay, so you are on Team Day of the Dead overall, but for the category, you went Return. Wasn't the Crazies the first to come through with the bomb drop idea? I believe so. It's funny you say that because I'm actually going to get this signed tomorrow, which is cool enough. I love this movie. I believe so. It's definitely one of the first ones for sure. Day, even though I haven't seen Return. ROTLD wins out for me. Okay, so we got another one for both. It's really hard to choose. I'll probably lean towards Day, but Return is so much fun. It really is that, like, I can't see two movies that are in the same genre that are more different than these two. They're just so different. But in the best way. John, everybody has holes in their film watching. That's true. I'm with Sean, Return of the Living Dead for the win for me. I will say this, and I meant to make this a fucking point earlier and I didn't say it. Even though I like the Day of the Dead a little bit better, I actually think this movie was more important to the genre. I really do. I really believe that because this movie hit a nerve in a different way than this movie did. I mean, Romero already had his fans. He already had his marks, and I'm one of them. I mean, I'll be first one in line to tell you I'm one of them. We all of us that love Night, and all of us that love Dawn, most of us like Day. Very rarely you see, at the time, maybe not, but now, I mean, most people consider Day a classic. But this movie, I mean, nobody went into this movie with any preconceived notion. Nobody really went into this movie with any, expectation. And man, it's an all-time classic. I do think this movie struck more of a nerve. And I dare to say this, and this will probably piss people off. This was the movie that the zombie genre needed more at the time as opposed to this. And the reason for that is this. This has your classic Romero statement. This has the classic arguments. And, should we blow the piss out of them, all of them? Or should we find a way to train them and make them behave? It has all the Romero classic stuff in there. But this is a movie that doesn't have a real message. It doesn't have a real point. It's just, like I said, it's punk rock and roll at its finest. Fast, loud, out of control with boobs, blood, mayhem, dancing in the graveyard naked with Linnea Quigley, partying all night, brains, send more paramedics, acid rain, party time. I mean, it really was more 1980s than Day of the Dead was. I think this was the more powerful film of the two, and of the fact of way it struck a nerve. It really did strike a nerve in the community. I do think this movie is a very important horror film and one of the all-time greats. I love Return of the Living Dead too. So I don't mean to, smash one or the over. I think it's a literal 1A, 1B situation. Yeah, but how can one have any opinion on a film not seen? Oh, okay, yeah, no, I agree with that. I'll have to see Return one of these days. I highly recommend it. Yes, Dusty and Day of the Dead hit that bionic elbow and Ric Flair, Return of the Living Dead for an epic smackdown of a movie win. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Tom, really do love Return of the Living Dead, but Day of the Dead takes the win for me. Hell yeah, man. I agree. Rest of power, Sheik. Sheiky baby passed away yesterday, breaking jabronis. Hey, Papa, who is the big fucking jabroni in the mohawk? driving us. You know, I love fucking Sheik. Rest in peace, Sheiky. He was apparently, you know, very entertaining on Twitter and all that. So that's really cool. But so that is the Versus show. However, I figured I'd give you guys a brief preview of the Living Dead weekend I'll be going to tomorrow in Pittsburgh, in Monroeville, in the Monroeville Mall, where my all-time favorite movie, Dawn of the Dead, was shot. And I have it right here. This VHS that I'm going to have Scott Reiniger sign, which I'm super excited about that. But I'm going to do a screen share really quick and show you guys how cool this weekend's going to be, because I figured it'd be a lot of fun. So let me click. I think it's here. Okay, so sharing the screen now. I just want to make sure you guys can see it. Yes, the Dead will walk the earth. Dawn of the Dead 45th anniversary is this weekend, live in living color. I've got my tickets already. The largest cast reunion ever assembled, June 9th to the 11th, 2023 in the Monroeville Mall, Monroeville, PA. Celebrity appearances, movie location tours, photo ops, VIP parties, exhibits, panels, vendors, and collectibles. Zero regrets, man. I'm super excited. So here's all the tickets, but here's all the celebrity guests that they're going to have. And there's 5 in particular that I really, really want to meet. Now, I guess I'll run through them. Of course, first and foremost, Ken Foree, the number one, other than Pamela Springsteen, he'd probably be the number 2 horror celebrity, horror icon that I'd want to meet. So I want to be first on his line. I want to meet Ken Foree. Always wanted to meet him. I've heard he's nothing but a great guy. So I really want to meet Ken Foree. That's like the big one I want to get. I don't actually have anything for him to sign. I'm going to get a picture with him and probably get an autograph photo, like a 8x10 that's on his table. That's my plan there. I definitely want to meet Ken Foree because I've heard he's just a wonderful guy, and he's my favorite character in my favorite movie. So definitely have to do it. Second was going to be Scott Reiniger, because as much as I love Ken Foree and Dawn of the Dead, I really believe that Scott Reiniger's character, he's just amazing. I mean, I love Roger. I think Roger's like one of the best Romero characters. And every single time I watch Dawn of the Dead, without fail, I dread his death. I always dread him dying. It just gets so fucking dreadful, where I'm like, oh my God, he's going to die again, isn't he? And I'm going to get him to sign this VHS I have of Dawn of the Dead with him on the cover. I want him to sign it like right here and be like, to Grande from Scott. I think that'd be really cool. I've heard Scott's a very nice guy. Of course, he was also in Night Riders. He's also in a brief cameo in the Dawn of the Dead remake. So definitely looking forward to meeting Scott. I hope to meet both of them tomorrow. There's 5 people I said I definitely want to meet, and those are really the 2 big ones. The third one, though, is actually right here, and would be John Amplis, Mr. John Amplis, who played, of course, Martinez, who played Martin, who played, of course, the mime character in Night Riders, of course, the father in Father's Day. Love John Amplis. And I actually have, this is really cool here. This is a bootleg DVD VHS transfer here of Martin, which is probably my second favorite Romero film of all time. I love this movie. And I love John Amplis in it. So I'm definitely excited to get him to sign this. It's a nice white cover here, so he can sign in, beautiful blood red, and I can get it signed from Martin. There's never any real magic. To Grande, something like that would be fun. So I definitely want him to sign this. I'm a big fan of Martin, and I'm super excited to meet John Amplis tomorrow. I think it's going to be really cool. Of course, it would not be a fucking Return of the Living. I'm sorry, a Dawn of the Dead. See, all this Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead fucking talk, it's making my brain in shambles. We wouldn't be a fucking convention return without this guy. Dummies, Mr. Richard France, of course, the eye patch guy from Dawn of the Dead, and of course, the main scientist from the Crazies. And cool enough, I'm going to have him sign my Crazies Blu-ray, which, granted, I don't really know where he'd sign on this. This is not a great Blu-ray to be signed. It's not really a good penmanship here, or color here. But I actually have a Thriller, they call her One Eye patch, that I want to take with me and wear in the picture. So that's something I really, really want to do. So I really want to wear an eye patch, take a picture with him. They have photo ops available. I can show you guys what they are. I'm not a photo op guy, but his one is cool. It's like you're arguing with him on television. I was like, if there's ever a photo op I would do, that's the one. But I'm probably not gonna. I'm a big table pick guy. I'd rather just meet the guy at the table, get an autograph, have a 5-minute conversation. That's cool. So definitely want Richard France. Tom Savini, no way. I've heard too many negative things. I'm staying away. No one's ruining my fucking vibes this weekend. And the 5th person I definitely want to meet is right here, Mr. Michael Gornick, who was Romero's cinematographer, longtime cinematographer of Romero. And of course, probably everyone will remember, was the director of this movie, Creepshow 2, which I really want to get signed as well. Love Michael Gornick, the cinematographer, my all-time favorite movie, Dawn of the Dead, the cinematographer for Martin. It's definitely fucking amazing. I mean, I love Michael Gornick's work, and he really was, the guy that shot all of these great classic Romero movies. He was really the cinematographer. He was the, Dean Cundey to John Carpenter, if you will. He was the fucking cinematographer to, Romero's director and all that stuff. So I really, really, really want to meet Michael Gornick. Of course, you see there, Tasso's going to be there. Some of these people you never know. If I have time, Paul Musser, of course, he's the zombie that's on the poster of Dawn of the Dead. He's the, the half mutilated face zombie here. Roy Frumkes, who did the, Document of the Dead documentary. Tony Buba, who's fucking awesome. He worked, as editor and sound design guy for a lot of Romero films. You have the nun zombie. Kathleen Feeney is going to be there. Let's look down here. Marty Schiff, who I fucking love. Marty Schiff's cool as shit, man. David Crawford from the beginning. We're not preaching to moral bullshit. Sharon Hill, I've heard, is the nicest lady. Just all these great fucking, Lenny Lies, the machete zombie, Jim Kurt, the fucking helicopter zombie. So many cool zombies that are going to be there. Tons and tons of cool ones. You also have a Night Riders people are going to be there. Amy Ingersoll will be there. Cool, representing Night Riders. You have Night of Living Dead alum, John Russo and Rick Catazone, Paula Richards, Dick Heckard. Really cool. And then, of course, you do have some Day of the Dead people. Anthony DeLeo, who plays, of course, Miguel, is going to be there, who that would be cool to meet him. So if I have time, definitely would like to meet him because I've heard he's a nice guy. But we also have some really cool photo ops here. Granted, I won't get any of these. They're fucking crazy expensive. They're like $80 a pop. You could sit in the throne with Amy Ingersoll and Tom Savini. All right, fine, whatever. This one's cool. It's a hero group. You can take a picture with the three of them on the bench. So you literally would take David Emge's spot. I think David Emge is he's in poor health right now, so he's not going to be there, which is unfortunate because I would meet David Emge in no fucking brainer. But you get to be the fourth person and sit on the bench with the main three. That would be really cool. But again, it's like $130 for that. So I'm like, I don't know. That's a little fucking much. You could do a photo op where you're in a fucking motorcycle with Tom Savini, which is pretty cool. That's I think that's a $90 to $100 job. This one intrigued me. The Ken Foree, you could take a picture with him in the bank and they give you prop money to money. And hey, you never know. And you hold up shake his hand. That one looked cool. Again, like $80 to do that though. It's like, fuck, man. Like, I don't know. If I ever did one of these, it would be just one of them. I would not pay for more than one. Galen Ross is doing one where it's like dress up. I guess you can wear the fucking mint coat with her. Scott Reiniger's doing one with props. Richard France, this was the coolest one, I thought, where you're arguing with him on television, which would be a lot of fun. I guess he'll be wearing the eye patch. The fucking zombie nun has a photo op, which is bizarre. And this fucking guy, the Scope zombie, had like $100 photo op. Like, what the fuck? Why? And then the last one is this guy who dresses up as Flyboy. And this is cool because you take the picture in the actual elevator used. So it's the real elevator from the movie, but of course it's not David Emge. It's some guy cosplaying as David Emge. And from what I understand, he's great and he looks just like him. So, a lot of people say that that's awesome. This is 8 p.m. Friday. I can't do that. Maybe 8 p.m. Saturday. This one was the only reasonably priced one. It was like $40. And just to take a picture in that elevator would be cool. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I don't know. I'm not a big photo op guy, like I said. This I'll be at. If anyone's going to be there tomorrow, I will be at the Night Riders viewing party, which is a screening of Night Riders, introduction to the cast, food, beverages, meet and greet party. It sounds like a kind of like a mixer, like something where we just all sit together, a bunch of Romero fans, and just watch this movie. I have my tickets to that, so that I'll be going to. That should be a lot of fun. It's in the mall where they'll be screening Night Riders, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to meet up with Alpha Romero, who has a great YouTube channel. If you haven't heard of Alpha Romero, I shared his stream out. He did this whole rundown of the show, so I'll be meeting him there. Hopefully, it'd be really cool to meet him there at the show. He's a very, very nice guy. We'll both be at this event. You have live on stage special effects demos, which this one I'm going to miss because I'll be at the Mets game. So unfortunately, that one I'll miss, but they're going to do like real practical blood squibs on stage, which is so fucking cool, but I'm going to miss that one. You, of course, have the Living Dead exhibits, which has Land of the Dead and Night Riders, new exhibits there. Of course, tons of merch, which I really want to get. You have the Evil Dead 2 work shed, which I guess you could take pictures at. Looks really cool. Looks literally just like the fucking shed. It's like a replica shed. Really cool. Screen used motorcycle and sidecar will be available for photo ops. The Monroeville Mall the Monroeville Mall location tour, which this is, I cannot wait. I got my tickets to this. I cannot wait for the mall tour. They apparently take you in all sorts of unrestricted or restricted by day, unrestricted by this tour. Parts of the mall where I can visit the boiler room from Dawn of the Dead. They're going to take you all around the stairwell. Like every single place in the mall that's off limits by day will be, on limits by night, which is really exciting because I'm going to get to see the entire mall from front to back. The guy who hosts it, Larry is his name. I've heard he's the biggest Dawn of the Dead fan, and he does a great job with these tours. So I'm super excited to finally get to tour the mall where my all-time favorite movie was shot. This is going to be so cool to be a part of this. I'll be there tomorrow touring the mall. That's the tour I signed up for. They had 3 tours, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Vendors and merch, of course, can't go to a convention without some Blu-rays. Can't go to a convention without some T-shirt merch. Definitely going to get all that stuff. Definitely going to get in on that stuff. And then, of course, location details. And then I could quickly go to schedule because they have some panels available I could show you guys. Let's see. So this is the general schedule, which you guys are definitely not going to be able to see. I can see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's do that. I think you guys should be able to see it now. Yeah. So let's see. We got general admission check-in. We've got some celebrity signings, which from 2 to 4, that's when I really want to get most of my signings because then they start to do the panels at 4. The mall location, the movie, that's going to be a lot of fun. They are screening Martin 8 o'clock at the Carnegie Museum of Art, which is really cool. I'm definitely not going to make that because it's actually really far from the mall itself. I don't know why they're just not filming it or screening it in the mall like they are with Knight Riders, but that's an option if people want to go see Martin. Granted, I love Martin and it would be cool to see. More mall location, vendor hall, stuff like that. There's the photo op schedule. Here's the panels, which is, I'm a mark for these panels. I love one of my favorite things about conventions is going to these panels, man. They're just great. This one at 4 o'clock, I really want to see Ken Forey Scott and Galen all talking about Dawn of the Dead. Full cast group reunion photo, really cool. 5 o'clock, The Real Magic of Romero's vampire film Martin with John Amplis, Booba, Gornick, and Christine Romero, who it's one of her first shows. I don't think she goes to too many of these, so that's cool. She's going to be there. George's ex-wife, of course. And then, of course, at 6, on that night, I'm going on the tour. So after that, I'm going to see the 4 to 5 and then the 5 to 6. And then after that, I'm going to go on the tour and then meet up. Alfa Romero's in the house, actually. Alfa Romero, what's up, man? Hope all is well. He'll be there tomorrow. We're going to be meeting up at the Knight Riders thing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then Saturday, of course, we have a ton of stuff here. Knight Riders panels. I'm going to try to meet everybody, obviously, around this time too. Whoever I don't get to tomorrow to meet celebrity-wise, I definitely want to knock out Saturday. I'll dip out at some point to go to the Mets game, which should be a lot of fun. Definitely gonna bite to eat somewhere in there because all this stuff we haven't eaten yet. And then Sunday there's some cool panels. They have one with Mike Gornick on filming Dawn of the Dead, which I really want to go to that because it's like one of my favorite cinematographers of all time. I'd love to go to that. So this last day, probably an easy day, a chill day, one of those days where it's like figure out and get whatever you didn't. And then, basically go from there. Should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. This is a long time coming because, of course, my fellow listeners, you all know that Dawn is my favorite movie. So this is so surreal for me to finally get to visit where it was shot and get all these things signed and meet all these people. So I'm really looking forward to that. So let's, I know there's a ton of comments. I'm sorry. I want to fucking get, I think we were here. The Living Dead, aka the Mets. Oh my God, this guy's throwing stones. Pat's throwing stones. See, Pat's got it easy though. Pat's a Yankee fan, and so is I think Anthony's a Yankee fan too. So we got a Yankee fans here that they're throwing stones at me. Grande, you should meet Savini. Man, I've heard too much negative to fucking. If he's a dick to me, then I'll get angry. I don't need to get angry on this voluptuous weekend. Have the best time this weekend. We'll truly be a weekend to remember. Don't eat too many brains. Wicked show, Grande. Mernsy, thank you so much, man. I promise if I see anything cool, if I see anything Canadian, if I see a Diary of the Dead one sheet, I'm sending it your way. Okay, that was my last poke. I would like to meet all those actors. Oh, so would I. Safe travels and have fun, Grande, my friend. Cheers to a great weekend. Thank you so much, Miss C. I hope that all goes well. I'm super looking forward to it. This is a bucket list times two, man. When I got really sick with COVID and was in the hospital and I was in ICU, I remember saying to myself, I actually fucking in my head, I was like, I want to make a bucket list right now because there's nothing else going on. And I thought, and I was like, Monroeville Mall and meeting the cast, Dawn of the Dead. That's two on the bucket list that are going to be checked off this week. And I'm super looking forward to it. If people are trashing Savini, maybe he had a bad day when someone met him. He could be a really nice guy. He was nice to me. That's cool. I'm just saying I've heard a lot of stories where I've heard the opposite, where he was a fucking asshole. So I don't know. I just personally, like, those five are the ones I want to meet. I know some people, they meet everybody. Like, they go, Alvin Romero had met like every single fucking person. I was like, holy shit. Like, he told you stories and anecdotes for dead. His stream was great on this. If you want to see like a more in-depth, like, you know, who's who, watch Alpha's stream, man. He did a great job. Ask Ken Forey about Dead Spa. I should actually ask him about the Sleep Stalker, the Sandman's Last Rites, which is a really, really boring, like, Freddy Krueger ripoff, which Ken Forey played the lead detective. I love Ken Forey in anything. Like, Keenan, he was the dad in Keenan and Kel. Ken Forey is like one of my heroes, so I got to meet Ken Forey. Him or Scott, I want to meet first. LOL, Dead Spa is something else. It is something else. It is exactly what you would think it is, too. I know you like to plan ahead, but maybe in the future you can do a show all about your trip. Well, I'm thinking next week, just of FYI, I won't have as much time to prep for next week's show as I normally do. So I'm going to stray away from horror next week. I'm going to be doing 5 independent movie reviews. Something different. I know, something I haven't ever done before, Grande's Graveyard, but it's going to be a different experimental show. And I will recap the trip. I'll definitely, my plan is to take pictures and videos this weekend, and maybe I'm going to take my camera and my laptop with me. So maybe at the end of the night, I'll do recaps of the day. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. And then do maybe, you know, a little recap at the beginning of next week's show. Something like that, I think, would be a lot of fun. I'm up for a show about your trip. Absolutely. I promise. I will definitely either, you know, an edited video of the trip, or I'll just come on here and just fucking spiel on the whole weekend. Nice. Hope you have fun. Thank you so much, Trenchy. I'm looking forward to it, man. Tom Savini is a dick. Met him 4 times. He was a dick all 4 times. Why? See? You see that for every fucking positive I've heard, and that's 4 negatives there. There's that saying, don't meet your heroes. They'll let you down. But oh, dude, when I met Romero, he was the kindest. Like, it couldn't have, he whatever my expectation was, he shattered it. He was so nice. And I stood in line for 6.5 hours to meet him. And he greeted me like I was the first fucking person to line. Love George Romero. May he rest in peace. That was a real, like, I met my hero and he didn't let me down. This hero, Pamela Springsteen, that would be the one that I would be so scared if she did lead me down. But it probably won't ever happen. She'll never do a show. When your brother's Bruce Springsteen, you don't need money. You don't need to do conventions. And that's kind of the case here. If she was broke, I think she'd do all these conventions. I really do. And man, I'm not a VIP guy, but I would buy the VIP pass to be first online to meet Pamela Springsteen and have her fucking sign the Yiddies on this. I mean, I would have to do it. If there was ever a person I want to meet, it's Pamela Springsteen. Have a great weekend, buddy, in Pittsburgh. It looks like a lot of fun. Man, I'm going to have a blast. I'm looking forward to it. When it's June 10th, the fans of Dawn of the Dead will walk in the Monroeville Mall. Yes, and I'll also be at the Mets game. Hey, Grande, Terry is here. Big Dawn. I know Dawn of the Dead for a long time was Terry's favorite film, too. Terry, thank you so much, man, for stopping by. Good to see you as always, my friend. Psychobab will be live, I believe, Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. So lucky. Yeah, I am. Happy for you, buddy. Dude, I'm happy, too. I'm so stoked about this trip, man. I'm like, this is like and Alpha said it on his stream, man. It's like, this is our Disneyland. Just got to Monroeville. Looking forward to meeting you, man. You're going to love that tour. Thank you, man. Awesome. He's already there. My dude Alpha's there chilling. I'll be flying in tomorrow, my dude. I'll be the guy on the airplane asking if they have Mountain Dew. That'll be me. Hello, James, Trenchy. People saying hi to one another. That's very, very nice. Ouch. I don't know. What did I say that I ouched? Sunday is a good day to shop because a lot of the vendors don't want to repack all that shit back up. That's a fucking good point. That's a very good point. Joe P. JP is in the house. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for checking out the show. Let's see. Savini is really cool if you're not paying him for an autograph. Really? What the fuck? Wouldn't he be nicer if you paid him for an autograph? What? Dude, I don't know, man. I can't. Because if he's a dick to me and I'm gonna walk away, I'll get mad. I'll be like, fuck. Like, I don't need that. But like what was fucking Carl Weathers' manager and Rocky 2? we don't need a man like that in our lives, baby. Like I love Bill Evans or something. Bill, what the fuck is his name? The guy who played fucking Apollo's trainer. Somebody look that shit up. Going to be quite exciting weekend for you. Going to be so many great memories. Oh man, this is it for me, man. I'm so fucking excited. And so crazy that the Mets are in town. Like, what the fuck are the odds of that they make one trip to Pittsburgh the whole year? And fucking sure enough, granted, the fucking great Canadian wildfire of yesteryear coming to town, and it looks like an episode of Breaking Bad outside. It's fucking crazy. But I don't know. I hope they get the game in. Somebody was telling me it's going to be in Pittsburgh Saturday. That fucking wildfire orange sky. So sure enough, when the Canadian wildfire, there's no more room in hell. The Canadian wildfire will walk the earth, motherfuckers. Romero's a really nice guy. Yes, he was. Don't forget your phone charger. I will not. I promise. I got it all packed. I got to pack all this stuff up too. You know, all the stuff I'm going to get signed. These things. I definitely want to get all that signed. Let's see. He was very humble. That's awesome. Is her brother Bruce Springsteen? What the fuck? Yeah, absolutely. That's her brother. I think Savini just assumes people want his autograph to just sell it on eBay. Really? So I wonder if you personalize it. If I say to Grande, maybe he'd be nicer to me. I don't know. I'm iffy on him, man. I can't see, like, because of all the people that have told me. I've also heard this. I've heard if you have a lady friend with you, if you have like a good looking woman on your arm, I've heard he's very nice. So that I've heard about Savini. Mr. Savini likes you if you have a fucking pretty lady on your arm. Then maybe not meet Savini then. Yeah, right now I'm on a no. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Those 5 I mentioned is definitely just my theory. Hey, man, I trust your theory over anybody else's because you're a veteran of these things. I'm popping my fucking Monroeville Mall cherry. The apocalypse is near. Yes, it is, Mr. Steele. Hope you have a great weekend and stay safe, John. Take care of my friend. Sean, thank you so much for checking out the show. That smoke in Pittsburgh will be the Mets season burning up. Yeah. Pat, you're lucky you're a good egg, and you're lucky you're a Steelers fan because I'll be taking a picture of Franco Harris and the Romero statue and all that good stuff. That is 100% true. Okay, see? This is not stories I'm making up here. See? We got a verification. Grady, you don't want to mess up your vacation. No, exactly. That's like, you know what? Like, positive vibes. I've heard nothing but good things about everybody else, and these are people I want to meet. This is the location I want to go to. It's my favorite movie ever. So this is really the bucket list being checked off double. Grant, if you beat up Savini and someone films it, we will all donate to bail you out of jail. Yeah, fuck yeah, baby. Yo, I'll take him out. Let's go. I'll go 12 rounds with Tom. I think I'd take him in less than 12 rounds. Granted, he's fucking 70-year-old fucking man. So it is what it is. Only on the graveyard. Yeah, we're gonna sign off now. Problem solved. Grande, bring a lady fam with a big set of yits. Savini will love you. What? Anybody with a fucking big set of yits want to come to Pittsburgh with me? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Then you got to run in Shrek and shout, I object. Yeah, I'll donate. Hell yeah, man. I'm getting out of jail free, man. I got bail money if you pop Savini in the nose. Hell yeah, baby. Let's go. I'll do it. But everybody, it was a very fun night in the graveyard tonight. These 2 movies are awesome. Super excited, of course, to even see some of the cast of this movie will be there tomorrow. But just a super fun battle here in the versus episode of Romero versus O'Bannon, Return versus Day. A lot of fun and a very fun pre-show to this weekend that lies ahead. So everybody, I want to say thank you so much for the support. As always, a lot of fun times in the graveyard. Next week, not top 5, but it's just 5 random independent film reviews. We're going to get away from the horror genre, and hopefully we'll do a trip recap. If not, I'll edit one together. We'll take a ton of pictures, meet a bunch of celebrities, and have a wonderful time. So everybody, thank you once again for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, all of that good stuff. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, enjoy your weekend, and we will catch you next time. Only on the graveyard. 2 Sweet Peace, and we'll catch you next time after I'm home from the Monroeville Mall Living Dead weekend. Good night, everybody. 2 Sweet Peace.